This is Engage New York, Module 3, Lesson 4. Read the objective out loud while I read it. All right, so let's go ahead and start with our fluency practice. I'm going to name a fraction, and you say a fraction with the same denominator so that together our fractions add up to one whole. So let's practice. So if I have 1/3, what fraction would add up to make one whole? Think about it for a second. So think about that number line. If I was at 0/3 and I was at 1/3, 2/3, how do I get to 3/3 or one whole? So it'd be 2/3, right? Would equal one whole. Okay, so what about 1/4? You're right. It would be 3/4 would be 4/4, which would equal one whole. All right, I want you to try this. I want you to try to complete these and then check back and so that we can debrief. Okay, so how did you do? So 1/4 plus 3/4 is 4/4. 1/5 plus 4/5 is 5/5. 2/10 plus 8/10 is 10/10. 1/3 plus 2/3 is 3/3. 3/5 plus 2/5 is 5/5. 1/2 plus 1/2 is 2 seconds. 2/2. 5/10 plus 5/10 is 10/10. 6/7 plus 1/7 is 7/7. And 3/8 plus 5/8 is 8/8. So they all equal one whole. Now, division as fractions. All right, so I will say a division sentence and you say the fraction. So 3/2 becomes what? If that's a fraction, how does 3 divided by 2 change to a fraction? So remember how we took it and we flipped it down? So it becomes 3/2, which is 3/2. Because it would be 1/2 plus 1/2 plus 1/2, 3/2. Now, what about 2 divided by 3? So that becomes 2/3 or 2/3. So 1/3 plus 1/3. All right, now on the back, I want you to try this after we just did those two problems. Now I want you to try it here. And don't forget to write out using words what that fraction is. So go ahead and you're going to start that right now. And then you're going to come back and debrief with me and make sure you understand that. All right. So did you end up with 3/4, 3/4, 6/4, 6/4, 4/5, 4/5, 7/2, 7/2? Make sure you write the word halves, not 7/2s or 7 seconds. It would be 7/2. 10/3 and 6/8. All right. The last part of our fluency is this application problem. Leslie has 1 liter of milk in her fridge to drink today. She drank half liter of milk for breakfast and 2/5 liter of milk for dinner. How many liters did Leslie drink at breakfast and dinner? Then we have the bonus problem. How much milk does Leslie have left over to go with her dessert? Give your answer as a fraction of liters and as a decimal. So that is your bonus. See how you do. Come back to check your answer. Oh, and on this page right here next door, I've given you a layout of how to try to solve that problem. All right? All right, good luck and come on back. All right, so now let's take a look at the application problem. So if Leslie has 1 full liter of milk in her fridge to drink today. She drank a half of a liter of milk for breakfast and 2/5 of a liter of milk for dinner. How much liters of milk did Leslie drink at breakfast and at dinner? So I start off with taking my tape diagram, or they call it the fraction box, I think. And I started with breaking it in half, and then I have 2/5 broken in half. Now I know I have to create equal shares, right? We have to put them on the same number line, and we have to create equal units. So what I had to do is I had to multiply by 5, add 5 lines. So now, remember, I'm taking up the same amount of space as I did up here. So now instead of 1/2, I have 5/10. Over here, I had started with 2/5, but I needed to double it and multiply by 2. So I doubled the amount of units, and now I have 4/10. So if you add 5/10 plus 4/10, you get 9/10. So Leslie drank 9/10 of a liter, or 0.9 liters. So I don't want you to forget about what you know about decimals. So don't forget that. Remember what 9/10 equals. It's 0.9. Then the bonus question was, how much milk does Leslie have left over to go with her dessert? Give your answer as a fraction of liters and as a decimal. So you have to think of one whole. So she started with one whole. One whole subtract 9/10. Well, one whole is also 10/10, because in order to subtract, to add or subtract, you have to have like units. So 10/10 would allow us to subtract. So 10/10 subtract 9/10 is 1/10. So 1/10 of a liter left over, or 0.1 liters. All right, so that will do it for fluency for Module 3, Lesson 4. Come on back for concept development.